Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share a book I think anyone curious about AI needs to know about. It's called Empire of AI by Karen Hao. Karen Hao isn't your average tech journalist. She has a mechanical engineering degree from MIT. That's important because it means she really understands the technical foundations of AI. The math, the models, the physics behind the data centers. And she's been in Silicon Valley herself. She knows how these companies really operate, the incentives, the hype cycles, the culture that celebrates growth and moonshots above all else. She went into tech wanting to solve real problems, like the climate crisis. But she saw firsthand that the most lucrative technologies aren't necessarily the ones society most needs. That conflict drove her to become a journalist, determined to expose these misaligned incentives and spark honest conversations about technology's real impact. She's written for outlets like MIT Technology Review and The Wall Street Journal, where she built a reputation for going deeper than the typical breathless AI headlines. Empire of AI is the culmination of that work. It's not just an opinion piece or a futurist's guesswork. It's the result of hundreds of interviews with people across the industry, including many at the center of the AI boom. One of the most striking parts of the book is how she breaks down OpenAI's story. OpenAI was founded with this big, idealistic promise to develop artificial general intelligence safely for the benefit of all humanity. It was a non-profit, with a mission to be transparent and cooperative, even pledging to share progress with competitors if that would make AGI safer. But that idealism ran straight into the harsh reality of compute scaling. Training giant models requires a staggering number of GPUs, an enormous expense. That's where the need for profit came in. To compete, they had to raise billions. And the easiest way to raise those billions was to become exactly what they claimed they wouldn't: a closed, for-profit, aggressive tech company. Microsoft alone invested tens of billions of dollars. The book shows you why that happened in detail, not in a judgmental way, but explaining the internal logic, the scaling laws, the arms race, the investor pressure. But she also shines a light on what that strategy costs society. These massive models consume vast amounts of electricity and water. Data centers often get built in water-stressed regions, places already struggling with drought. In some communities, these centers take priority over local residents who end up facing water restrictions or see bans on new housing because utilities can't keep up. She explains how companies describe these impacts in abstract, sanitized terms like efficiency or innovation. But on the ground, they mean diverting vital resources from people who need them. She also details the human labor behind AI's polished facade. A lot of the work that makes AI seem smart is labeled and cleaned by people, often low-paid contractors in the global south. She describes workers in places like Kenya who earn just a few dollars an hour to read and label truly horrific content, extreme violence, child exploitation, so that the models can learn to filter it out. This isn't just stressful work. It leaves many workers with lasting psychological trauma. These companies rely on that cheap labor to keep costs low and scale quickly. Yet the workers' suffering is largely invisible to the customers who use these AI tools. She also unpacks the almost religious fervor that drives much of the industry's leadership. There's a powerful belief that achieving AGI, artificial general intelligence, will solve all human problems. That belief justifies everything: the environmental costs, the labor exploitation, the concentration of power in a handful of companies. It's treated as an existential mission so important that it overrides questions of democracy, regulation, or accountability. She points out that this is structurally risky. Giving a small group of profit-driven companies the power to shape systems that will influence billions of lives with minimal oversight is inherently unstable and unsafe. Another fascinating point she explores is how the industry talks about AI in intentionally vague ways. AI isn't one thing, it's more like the word transportation. It can mean anything from a bicycle to a supersonic jet. When politicians say we need more AI, it's like saying we need more transportation, without ever asking what kind, for whom, or at what cost. That vagueness is convenient. It avoids accountability and prevents people from demanding real answers about environmental impacts, data privacy, labor rights, or public oversight. She also draws a stark parallel to colonialism. She argues that AI's growth follows a familiar historical pattern. Powerful players in wealthy countries treat the rest of the world as a resource mine. They seek cheap land, energy, water, and labor in poorer regions, externalizing costs while reaping profits. But importantly, Empire of AI isn't just a critique. Karen Hao devotes space to discussing what people can do. She doesn't believe it's hopeless. She points out that communities can and have resisted. In places like Chile, local activists have slowed or reshaped data center projects by demanding environmental reviews and public consultations. She urges readers to recognize that they have a stake and a say. Whether you're a voter, a student, a teacher, a corporate employee, an artist, or simply someone concerned about your community's resources, you can ask better questions, demand transparency, and help set limits on what companies do. She wants people to see technology not as an inevitable wave we have to ride blindly, but as something we can shape. And that's what makes Empire of AI so powerful. It's not anti-technology, it's pro-accountability. It's about understanding the real trade-offs behind the hype, so we can make smarter collective choices about what kinds of systems we want and don't want. If you're interested in AI, in the environment, in the future of work, or in how big companies shape our lives, I truly think this book is essential reading. If you want to check out Empire of AI, I've put a purchase link in the description below. I really encourage you to give it a read and think about these questions for yourself. And if you do read it, or you have thoughts on these issues, leave me a comment. I'd love to talk about it more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you found this helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.